guest with us in the studio. Welcome to Anish Giri. You just had a tough game against a pretty strong opponent. I wanted to ask you first off the bat, before the game starts, how was your approach? You are half a point behind, but you're playing black. How did this influence your opening decision?
Well, first of all, Magnus usually wants to make draw with white only if he clinches something.
Right.
And if you look at the tournament standing, if you looked at it before today, in fact, he's not in a must-win, but for him it would be also nice to win as well.
Yeah.
Because each half a point here, let's say he will get black tomorrow, he would assume he would get some guy like let's say Kramnik, he makes one more draw, and you never know what's happening. Maybe somebody will take over the lead.
As we can see, there's a lot of people actually following Carlsen with only half a point less.
But the thing is somehow the wrong people won today. I mean,
well, let's get into that.
From his perspective. Well, anyway,
we'll get into what happened in the round.
Yeah. Well, so what I'm saying is that it's not like Magnus wants to make a draw with me, fortunately or unfortunately. It's just normal game, and since I played the Nidorf, you can assume I was looking for a sharp fight.
So you would say that you were okay with upping the ante, being a little bit more risky today, because he is half a point ahead. Yeah, but I mean he was also, in fact, at some point in the game you can see that I offered him move repetition and he refused. So as I thought before the game, he's also in an aggressive mood. So I just gave him the opportunity, to use his aggressive move by playing the Sicilian. Now, throughout the Grand Chess Tour, you are known as an extremely solid player, and here you've impressed people with your abilities in the Nidorf. Do you think this is something you might take into round robins? Peter is there, like, damn it, not only Berlin, I also have to prepare the Nidorf for the candidates, but okay, Nidorf is great opening when it works. When it works. And a very painful one when it doesn't. Berlin is always a great opening, so that's the difference. But okay, the problem is with the Berlin, like yesterday I got my preparation in the Nidorf and I just got advantage after 15 moves. Yeah, we were While if I get my preparation in the Berlin, I'm gonna make a draw after 15 moves. I'm not gonna get an advantage. And therefore, we have our Nidorf in the position. So guide us a little bit through it. You actually played an interesting move. Magnus is also not particularly doesn't have particularly good results against the Nidorf. No. But when he played d4, you seem to actually be a little bit surprised. No, the thing is, I realized. Okay, I'll say it because it doesn't matter. I look now. I realized before the game I forgot to have a look at that, and I had a feeling he might be wanting to do that. Okay. So just in case, and if not, he will play knight c3 anyway. So just in case, I'll start with knight f6 because actually that's what Peter played in the candidates when he sort of had to make a draw. Yeah, when he sort of had to make a draw, and it's probably one of the few lines where white can really get worse out of the opening. Okay. But so that's why I was not surprised by d4. I suddenly kind of thought that okay, wait a second, let me just think how to start, but okay, so we got into a Nidorf position anyway. Yeah. Well, he of course chose the most un-Nidorfy Nidorf sort of. I mean, this is. And by that you mean the most solid approach. Yeah. Yes. I mean, Duda played against him. Actually, I looked what he played. A knight c6. Knight c6, queen d3, h6. Yeah, and everybody was criticizing Duda, but okay, if he goes bishop h4, it was not easy for me to see what was the idea of the whole line. So knight c6. It's a very peculiar line. So by accident, I looked very briefly at this recently because I just was curious about his game. But mostly, I looked at it quite a long ago when I wanted to play Nidorf against some other player a long time ago. So I remembered there was this system with taking, and you're going a little fast for okay. I mean, this is normal. I want to go knight d7, so white takes. White wants to establish knight on d5, and very often white, let's say main line is knight c6. Right. White chooses between rook d1 or long castle. Yes. And there is this variation, and I think in case of long castle, the black can also take. And I've looked at it with both of the variations once because it's very nice for white if he would get his knight on e3. So I tried to make it work. Something that we consistently talked about, the rerouting of the knight in this position. Yeah, but the problem is the knight on b3 is a worse square. This diagonals, knights don't make the diagonals, and usually when the knight is like 2 squares away, it will take him like 4 moves to get there. It's one of the most unfortunate squares. And here he surprised me with knight d2 because I couldn't remember, but I assumed that the knight route would be something like c3, followed by knight a1, knight c2. Ah, and that's very clever. Yeah. And from d2, it's not really going anywhere because
f1 square is captured, and now c4 square is captured as well.
Right.
So I think he bluffed me with knight d2, sort of pretending he wants to go some knight c4, knight f1, but without castle, of course, it's not going to work. Let's say, I mean, the problem being something like that, for example, yeah. There is a check on a5.
Okay, yeah.
So I think knight c4 was but okay. It's problem with c3. There were some things I considered here as well.
All right. So
anyway, he played very harmless. Also here, you know, he could have played more sharp with the long castle. And okay, when you play so harmless against Najdorf, you don't have any advantage.
You think that you have to be more aggressive against the
no,
Najdorf to get something?
No, you don't have to. I mean, if you want to get something, you usually it's hard against Najdorf to get a small plus. You know, this is why people play Najdorf because small comfortable plus is very difficult. And here, well, it was quite subtle. Let's say I wasn't so sure what I want to do because. Knight on b6 would be nice, but sometimes c4 is there.
The idea of opening with c4 and trying to bring the pieces to that square.
Yeah, like something like that would be very bad. Knight on c5 is not exactly what I wanted to have, so I thought I'll just go g6, king g7.
Okay, so just kind of a waiting move.
Yeah, it's also quite useful in many variations. But c4 is here, so I played rook b8.
Right. Well, immediately cutting off the ideas of c4 or a4 because of the power of the b2 pawn.
Yeah, now it's a bit of a pity because but I don't think I ever want to go f5, so anyway, I removed the rook. And
Peter was mentioning some ideas of playing bishop d8, b6, but the rook on d8 looked very natural to me.
Yeah, the thing is, I am toying a bit with the idea of d5 sometimes, just sometimes. Let's say, and also let's say if he goes knight f1,
right?
I would always have. Well, here I have knight f6,
knight f6, right? Yeah.
But I think I meant bishop f3. At some point, I have this bishop g5 ideas. Let's say knight b6. Queen drops. Let's say
a2. That's just for example.
And bishop g5.
Okay, and let's say the knight.
Yeah, and the thing is that the knight does not have the e3 square here either.
Right. So it seems like the knight really fails to get to the positions it wants to get to.
Yeah, he tried to be very subtle, but now, okay, bishop g5, he said he missed that move, well, I
we always felt that bishop had to go to g5 at some point.
Yeah, I played knight c5 here because originally I thought I can do something like queen c6, keeping all the options open, but I suddenly started thinking he might want to transfer the bishop to b3. Okay, so I can do a4, which is a very big pity to do so, and otherwise, let's say if you go somewhere here.
You felt the bishop was improved on c2.
Could be, yeah. I just thought I'll avoid that, and my knight can always go back to b6 via a4,
right.
or d7.
Okay, so in this case, you killed this idea just in case,
yeah,
and after bishop f1, you went bishop g5.
Yeah, and before I have knight a4 always.
Yeah,
it doesn't really work. So now, and now his knight, let's say I expected something like this, and I go here. And I mean, his pieces are not where they want.
In many cases, we felt that actually the move rook fe1 cut some of his ideas because we thought that on bishop g5, knight f3, you could always try to go knight e1, knight c2, and with the rook on e1,
he played rook e1 to go maybe knight f1, but then there's this bishop g5, so he didn't quite. But I think if he would make another move, there would be some other move,
some other resource
to stop some. I mean, the position is better if you take off the knights.
Yes,
there's knight on e3, knight on f6. You take them off, and white is a little bit better, but then white can really nurture that advantage, which is very unpleasant.
Yeah,
but
precisely what he wants to get.
But from when I look at these positions, it's always that somehow you are almost there to bring the knight, but there's always some little move that's disturbing you.
Okay.
But this is not the most interesting part of the game. The thing was here.
We can jump straight to it. Yeah.
He should have repeated the moves because. Well, first of all, I underestimated knight e4, knight a5, queen b6, rook e4, queen a5. I win a pawn, but there is maybe a4.
Yeah, we were looking exactly at this variation, and it felt unpleasant.
I did not see a move here because he wants to go rook b4, queen b3, and if he does keep control of light squares and wins the pawn back, he's slightly he's on the nicer side.
Yes.
And I thought knight d7 was very strong because I have also knight f6. At first I considered only knight a4.
So from a practical perspective, you thought that retreating the knight was actually your best way. Also, you're objectively speaking.
Yeah. And I thought, and here I thought, okay, he has to again repeat moves. Well, after rook d3, the problem is I thought knight f6 would be good, but he has knight a5.
Knight a5.
And I considered something like this before, and c4 is coming, but maybe I can go queen a8. Like I thought in the game, but okay, I'm not sure. This was also an option. I thought that he'll probably repeat the moves.
But he was in no mood to do so,
Yeah, and okay, I sort of expected because he was really, generally this is his style of play. He pushes it.
Even equal positions.
He pushes them because he knows that, at least he hopes, that even if he gets a bit worse, he will manage to escape anyway. And he might even win in complications. That's sort of his approach to chess.
Okay.
While many other strong players, they try to make objectively the best move.
So you feel that he sometimes overestimates his capacity to get out of trouble?
No, because he has 28-34. He doesn't overestimate it. I mean, I don't know on purpose or not, he pushes the... I mean, when he sort of sees an option not to make a draw, which I think is kind of not so nice for him, he anyway does it just because he thinks that, okay, I'm not going to lose it anyway, sort of.
Okay, now the structure changed completely after
the
Queen
thing
D5.
Was, he said
right?
he was, well, I think he might have missed Queen A8, but because now his only move, let's say Queen B6, he would be just B4.
Yes.
But after Queen A8, he cannot anymore protect normally on E4, because let's say if Queen B1, there is Bishop D8. At the very least, and suddenly then you have to go B4, which is awful. So Queen D5 is the only move, and he said that he was happy to get this opportunity, and I thought that it's sort of like a desperate. I mean, that I'm happy to get it, but here I thought I should be better, but.
Yeah, were you already thinking about playing for an advantage in this position?
Well, I thought I have advantage here. I thought I'm better, but
D8. Is it any good?
here.
No, it's not realized. Instead of taking.
Yeah, well,
Is this a move? We didn't see it.
But I wanted to just take Knight C6. Knight B4.
Knight B4, yeah.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, I thought that I'm just better, but then I realized that because I mean, he has this awful rook on H3.
Right.
But then I saw that B4 and C6, C4 is coming. Then rook goes to B3, and I did not see exactly how to gain an advantage or anything. And
we didn't see anything. I mean, obviously, White's plan of attacking on the queen side against the pawn structure is the only thing he can do.
Easier, and it felt kind of, because I thought also maybe to put the knight to E4, but
she could have had dinner with this.
Right, but
I'm not sure it gives me anything. I mean,
it also feels a little bit riskier, I would say, to play some of these plans without putting the pawn on E4.
Yeah, it looks natural. Well, and then I settled on this position. And the thing about this position is, I sort of thought I'll go King G7, Bishop F6.
Yes.
And I don't see how he makes progress.
Now, at some point, you were kind of forced to sacrifice the exchange.
I was forced?
Well, is this...
Yeah, well,
we thought.
The thing was what I originally missed. I thought Bishop F6 is a pity because of F3. It's a pity to allow this. King G7 was my original idea, but then I realized that now Knight D4 is very painful. There's suddenly
a lot of threats.
At least it looks painful. Probably it also is. Or take first Knight D4. Or maybe it's some kind of optical illusion, because there's maybe some. Well, anyway, King G7 looks bad, and Bishop F6 is a pity. So I didn't see a useful move in this position. H5 is Rook G3. I lose a pawn.
Yes.
So I simply didn't see a move here. I mean, I like my position, so no, I don't like it, but I thought I'm fine. But I didn't see what to do, and then I thought, okay, I will just give him a move, because now I would have this, let's say if he would go G3, Bishop F6, F3, I would have some options of Knight B2.
Knight B2, and Knight C4, yeah.
Or, the rook is worse.
Worst place definitely on D1.
Than on E1. So, I was wondering later, I was already wondering here if rook on B6 was well placed or not, but the time was ticking, so I had to make some choices. And then he gave me this interesting opportunity to give an exchange. I don't see actually what he's threatening.
Well, we thought that at some point he might be able to wrap around and play C5, but perhaps...
C5 I'll just take now.
Perhaps it's not such a big deal. At some point you do have to kind of sacrifice it though, right, if C5 happens?
Well, let's say I play King G7.
We weren't sure. We weren't sure.
So C5 I will take it, but then I win a pawn. I mean, this is
much
very
better,
good for black. I wasn't worried about C5. F3 was still sort of what I thought he wants.
Okay.
And anyway, basically...
But you decided to actually sacrifice the exchange.
Well, because I thought it's just good. Not because I thought it's the only way, but I just thought it's good.
So,
and the thing is now I'm threatening possibly...
We thought you were threatening D5 among other things. Yeah,
no, but D5 then he goes C5 anyway. But I thought, maybe a real threat is sort of Knight B6.
Knight B6.
And C5, Knight A4 back, something like that.
All right.
But here the problem is... Okay, now he connects his rooks.
Yes.
And Bishop G5 is the point. Otherwise, he missed this Bishop G5, I think. When he said he missed Bishop G5.
Really?
And the point is that once his rooks are not connected, I have the speed.
Yeah.
And the problem is with this move, which I thought was initially was nice because this is nice. The problem is he has a very strong move rook d1, bc, and a4, and I don't get anything connected on a5. And
a5 is really annoying. Everything collapses.
Yeah, and okay, to be honest, this position well, of course, the problem is that this is not so nice for black.
Right.
But I thought that he'll never force me, and I completely missed this move rook cd2, which forces me actually to do something. I thought he would go something like a 3.
Giving you all the time in the world.
Yeah.
But if black improves his king, do you start thinking for winning?
I don't know if I'm better, but I just don't see what he's doing. Let's say I play knight c3.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see simply what, let's say rook c1.
Or just even bring the king in,
e6
right?
maybe. I don't know. If he goes bishop g2 at some point, maybe some e3 d3 will, or d3 e3, something will happen. And so I thought here that okay, I'm doing all right and fine, but
rook cd2 came on the board.
This move, and unfortunately I have to force matches, and it's just a draw there.
Yeah, we saw the
thing
draw.
is, I not planned. I mean, I saw the option of knight b1, but he mentioned something like that, which is probably good enough. But I was worried about a4.
a4.
Rook coming around, my rook is quite badly placed. Somehow I don't get.
You don't get a2 quite on time, in this position. Yeah.
Even if the king was on g7, there's anyway it
doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and sometimes there is some knight on f3, rook on d1 mate, but the rook is on 2, is completely clumsy on c6.
Yes.
So I have to do this, and it is just a draw. There was you have to be precise because of king g7, sort of trying to avoid any potential checks. There is actually some trouble here. Rook a7 check.
Okay.
Now, if you go king f6, he'll take. Taking is bad endgame, and now I.
Yeah, if you move the rook away, it's check, right?
Yeah, and let's say king h6 is more tough. Now bishop b5, and now from my game with Wojtaszek, we know that there is bishop d7 and c6, and I'm losing a piece. So you have to be a little bit precise here.
A maneuver never seen before, indeed.
Yeah, but here I'm fine because checks don't really affect anything.
No, so you held on actually, I think, comfortably throughout the game. Both sides actually thinking that they had chances to push.
He said that he was better if he, quote, wouldn't allow me bullshit like that. But I sort of think that, well, I don't know how. I mean, if he takes, but this is a relief, that he takes. I mean, like he took, so it's nice. The structure is clear. There's no more c5.
It's very hard to actually pressure the b5 pawn in this position.
Yeah, although it's also hard for black to make a move at all. Actually, maybe that's what he meant.
All right, so you.
Yeah, maybe he should have done this and then just play f3 somewhere and put rook on c2. I have no more moves. Yeah, but okay, I think black should not be in much trouble because white also doesn't have much here.
You get a draw against the world champion, and you mentioned that the wrong people won today. What were you referring to with that comment?
Well, I meant that sort of it would be nice if Vlad got to play Magnus at some point, and there would be some blood there, and so both of them would lose half a point.
You're hoping that everybody loses half a point, but you got to start winning.
No, it was my own fault yesterday because I thought yesterday I was clever by avoiding Magnus with black, getting somebody with white, and then getting white again against Magnus.
Yes, but it didn't work out.
My great trick didn't work out because apparently, there are some all kinds of circumstances in the pairing which make sure that I play Magnus even though I'm not the highest rated of the other players, and even though I don't have the right color, I anyway get him. So the whole plan, plan was collapsing. So this draw actually didn't make sense. I just had to win it.
Yeah, and what are you doing?
Yeah, but okay. But I mean, yesterday it was such a pity. It was such a beautiful position. It was such a nice game, but yeah.
Yeah, we felt actually your handling of the knight yesterday was brilliant, and it reminded us so much of that Grandelius game with your king running around.
That was the problem. I was obsessed about this king e6. The king coming out. I did it more than once. I mean, it is the only way I win games by getting the king to e6. So I was so obsessed. I knew that I'm winning anyhow, but I thought just to show the trademark, to finish in style, to put a signature on a painting, I will put the king on e6 and the king will escape. But turns out that the idea is wrong because he has this queen shuttle maneuver which disturbs the plan, and then I would have to actually push on some of the pawns, and then time trouble. I picked the wrong moment to do that, so that was a pity.
Yeah, Peter, what was the FPS stand for?
Fancy play syndrome.
Fancy play syndrome. Perhaps you could have chosen something without your signature and pushed for the win at some point.
No, but to be honest, it's not like, I'm a little bit joking because I actually thought that this is the most clean way
of
avoiding any calculation. Because let's say there is some move like d4 gives e4 square, move like e4 gives dark squares.
Yes.
So I know that both of these ideas probably winning, but I thought that I should dominate his knight.
Yes.
So it's not like I'm showing off. I thought it was the best way, but
it was a surprisingly complicated position. Even though the engines were screaming whatever they wanted, it wasn't so easy to figure out in human terms.
Yeah, the thing was that my winning idea was wrong. If I would have figured out already that this idea of king e6 is wrong, if somebody would tell me it's not easy, you have to just really win it, I would be like, okay, I'll go e4. But nobody told me that. I thought, just winning automatically, with a signature maneuver, but didn't work out.
Such is the case. Well, thank you so much for your analysis here, and good luck for the rest of the games.
Thank you.
Hope to see you back.